Dr. Christine Blasey Ford has agreed to answer questions by the Senate Judiciary Committee. However, she has specified one specific condition, and that condition is that the FBI conduct an investigation into the allegations before she testify. Now, it seems as though the Trump administration is unwilling to allow for that to happen. The White House would have to ask the FBI to conduct the investigation, and to be absolutely clear, it is not a criminal investigation that's being called for. It would be an investigation to look into these allegations, to provide senators the information necessary so they can make a decision the best that they can. However, the Republicans in the Senate are not happy with this, and it seems like they're going to push this Monday testimony through and then go for a vote. So echoing Senate Democrats, she said an investigation should be the first step before she is put, quote, on national television to relive this traumatic and harrowing incident. But here's what Republicans did. They signaled that they would not negotiate an alternative date specifically, and would go ahead with the hearing without her, or declare it unnecessary if she refuses to appear, then possibly move to a vote. Now, one of her lawyers, Lisa Banks, was talking about this on CNN, and here's what she had to say about it.
Are you saying there has to be an investigation by the FBI, or else Professor Ford will not testify?
What we're saying is that there should be an investigation, because that's the right thing to do.
If there's not an investigation, would she appear on Monday?
She is prepared to cooperate with the committee and with any law enforcement investigation. And that has been her position, and it continues to be her position. So she will cooperate with the committee in whatever form that takes, and it remains to be seen. We have to talk with Senator Grassley's office and the other committee members to determine what form that will take.
Just a random side note here. That's what a lawyer looks like and sounds like. Because we've just gotten used to Trump's lawyers on TV all the time. Well, let me tell you something. Is the truth really truth? Is a crime really a crime? And we've gotten lawyers used to lawyers being clowns on television, but that's what a professional lawyer sounds like.
Okay. I agree, yeah. So, all right, so I think that what Dr. Ford is asking for makes all the sense in the world, because quite honestly, if you don't have the FBI investigate this and try to get to the bottom of the truth, you have two individuals testifying on this date, which would be on Monday, and it would be at least painted as a he said, she said type situation. I think that it's important to have the FBI get involved and try to get to the bottom of the truth. That way we're not left trying to decide, oh, is she telling the truth? Is he telling the truth? Now, we all have our opinions on who's telling the truth, but I think that the FBI would really solidify the facts of this case.
Or at least they have a potential to. So what would they do? I've now read investigators saying, well, look, just background check 101 in a situation like this is you simply start contacting all the people in the yearbook, okay, of those years and see if there are any witnesses. So it seems like a he said, she said, but wait a minute, there were probably a lot of people at that party. So now some classmates have begun to come forward and say that there were rumors of an incident at that party. Well, who was at the party? Did they see the guy stumbling down? Did they see her locked in the bathroom? Did they see her run out in a panic? Well, those would be really, really relevant facts, and why the FBI should do that background check, just like they did in the Clarence Thomas and Anita Hill case. And there's two reasons why Trump doesn't want it done. He, of course, lies and says they don't want to do it, and it never gets done. Neither one of those is true. Okay, so he doesn't want it done because, one, they might find out things that corroborate her story, and two, it's going to take a little longer. And the longer it takes, the closer we get to the midterm elections, and the less likely it is that they can confirm Kavanaugh or anyone else. And then if the Democrats win over the Senate, they might not be able to confirm anyone. So that's why the Republicans are like, we gotta go right now.
Right, I mean, for the first time ever, Republicans have your tick, 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 tick in the back of their mind when it comes to this case, because they don't look, they want political wins. They want a conservative Supreme Court justice to be confirmed as soon as possible, because there is a pretty good chance that Democrats would have more control after the midterms. And so they don't care whether or not this is true, right? And I believe that some of them already knew about this before it became public information. We've talked about that before. But what I also find really interesting is the way some Democrats are reacting to it. So you have Democrats who are coming out strong, and I commend them for that. And then you have wannabe Democrats like Feinstein who say things that are used to the Republicans' advantage, and this drove me crazy. So she was stopped by Fox News, and Fox News interviewed her, and here's what she had to say. And keep in mind, conservatives are now using her words against Dr. Ford.
No one called her or called her lawyer. My understanding is she got emails. I have no say. I'm the lead Democrat, so this is all up to the Republican side. I can't say everything's truthful. I don't know.
Okay, so it's just saying I can't say anything's truthful, right? Like you'll have one political party who's like, she's lying, we don't believe her, right? They have no problem saying they don't believe Dr. Ford right off the bat, even though they have no idea. And then Feinstein, just don't say, I don't know if she's telling the truth. I mean, that's a fair statement in a real world where things aren't as dirty as they are here in the United States. Keep that to yourself. Find a way to finesse the situation and say something that's gonna play better. So your own words won't be used against Dr. Ford. The way I would have handled it is I would have said, I think it's important. I'm inclined to believe the client, but I think it's important for the FBI to investigate this and get to the bottom of the truth.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Feinstein keeps slipping up and framing things from a Republican perspective. She's done it many times before. And Anna's right that this is not a normal situation where if you're having a conversation between friends and you want to be fair and say, look, I don't know that it definitely happened. That's a fair statement. But if you say that in the context of today's America, that quote will be taken out of context and put in every paper and every right-wing blog and every cable news show, and that's exactly what's happened. So it makes it seem like her main backer, Feinstein, says, well, I have no idea if she's telling the truth. And especially when you see it written as opposed to the context even of that short interview there. Mm-hmm. So it's the Democrats are quite often frustrating. But look, but from a person who wants to get at what's real instead of just picking sides, I wish they would all come at it with a more open mind. Mm-hmm. So a bunch of the Republicans have already said, oh no, she's definitely quote unquote mixed up. And
that's their play now. That maybe it's possible that this did happen, but it wasn't Kavanaugh. She's mixed up. That is the talking point that they're now repeating over and over again in the news cycle.
Yeah, and a whole bunch of them like Cornyn say, no, just no way, not true. Again, how do you know? You didn't talk to her. You won't let the FBI do the background check. You won't talk to witnesses. And so, to be fair to the Republicans, a couple of them did come forward, like Corker and Flake, and say, no, we got to hear people out. Which leads me to my last point.
Corker changed his tune, though.
No, I know he did.
Yeah, Corker said Republicans extended a hand in good faith. If we don't hear from both sides on Monday, let's vote.
No, I know, and so I don't agree with him. Of course, I think they should have the FBI do the background check and not just for political reasons of wanting to delay it, but like, let's find out. I mean, again, Judge Napolitano, we live in strange times, made a good point on Fox News where he said, look, if they don't take their time to find out what actually happened, it's gonna stain Kavanaugh forever. So maybe he didn't do it, but if you just rush through it, people will always have that question mark over him. Mm-hmm. And so now, given that, I still think she should testify. And so let's talk it through, but
I would not testify. I wouldn't. And I had the same opinion as you until I looked into it further. The reason why I wouldn't testify at this point is because Republican senators they've made up their minds. And so is there any possibility that having her testify would change their minds? At this point, no, they've made up their mind. However, there is a possibility if you have the backing of the FBI. Remember, the FBI, Dr. Ford is the one asking the FBI to do the investigation. I think that that's powerful by itself because that means, no, I want them to get to the bottom of this and I want to have, what they're gonna find is gonna back me up. That's what it messages to everyone, in my opinion. So having any possible evidence or information that the FBI could have would help strengthen her testimony. Otherwise, she's just gonna testify in a room full of dudes who have already decided that she's making things up or she's mixed up. And by the way, she's dealing with what you can expect, the death threats. She's moved out of her home. She's in hiding now. She's hired private security. This is a difficult thing for her to go through. And I think that, if you're gonna testify and put yourself through that, you want it to be worth it.
Yeah, we have gotten used to the sick state of society because we often get the threats so frequently that we've kind of become inured to them. But it's sad that anytime anybody comes forward politically, it's against the right wing. It is a fact that they will immediately get death threats. People will find out where they live and they'll have to change where they live. I mean, think about how fascistic that is and how sick that is.
Right.
And she was worried about that, and that's what she got immediately. But look, on the core issue here, whether she should testify or not, if they really vote on Monday and they don't hear from her, that's terrible. And so I think that my guess is that attacking her would backfire if she went to go testify. My guess is that hearing it from the person herself would make a big impact on the country. And so it's less than ideal, to say the least, under these circumstances without a background investigation to testify. But in my opinion, it's way better than not testifying and having them just push this through.
I hear what you're saying, but I'm getting so tired of people caving to Republicans who just want political wins and doing everything under their terms. I think they just want to rush this. That's the way that this is playing out. They just go, no, we want to vote. We want to vote. Midterms are coming. We're losers, and we're going to lose the House, and so and possibly the Senate, and we don't want to risk that, right? So no, let's hurry up. Let's hurry up. That's so pathetic. Because here's the thing. At the end of the day, this is about way more than political wins. We're talking about a lifetime appointment as a Supreme Court justice, someone who's gonna hand down rulings or decide on cases that affect all of our lives, whether you're a man or a woman. But to the Republicans, that doesn't matter. We want a conservative, we want a pro-corporate conservative in the Supreme Court. And so who cares if he's hurt people in the past? We don't wanna get to the bottom of the truth. I don't wanna cave to that. I don't wanna cave to that and do everything under their terms. You see what I'm saying? But I do see your point. It is important for her to testify. I don't know what the right answer is. I just know if I were in her shoes, I'd want the same thing.
And look, those are tough shoes to be in right now, because she's gonna get attacked either way, whether she testifies or doesn't. The Republicans already hate her. And by the way, if she doesn't testify and they just push this through, some Democrats might be frustrated. And so she's in a really bad spot. It's another piece of evidence that why would you come forward on something like this, knowing that you're gonna get stuck in this catch-22 and your life is gonna be turned upside down if it didn't happen.
And while you share your thoughts of feeling sorry for her, that she has to go through all this, and we know how brutal people can be when it comes to politics, Donald Trump has decided that the real victim in this story is Brett Kavanaugh. And he spoke about it again, so take a look.
Really, they're hurting somebody's life very badly, and it's very unfair, I think, as you know, Justice Kavanaugh has been treated very, very tough. And his family, I think it's a very unfair thing, what's going on. And he has an unblemished record. This is a very tough thing for him and his family. And we want to get it over with. At the same time, we want to give tremendous amounts of time. I'd really want to see her. I really would want to see what she has to say. If she shows up, that would be wonderful. If she doesn't show up, that would be unfortunate.
So a couple of things there, Anna. One, it's obvious that he was coached. Whatever you do not attack her. That is going to cost you elections. Now, even if it doesn't cost you personally, it's going to cost the Republicans. Do not attack her. And for once in his life, he at least had enough discipline not to attack her. He wound up attacking the Democrats and Feinstein, et cetera, later on. But he can't help himself. He's got to embellish everything. So he's like, we're going to give this tremendous amounts of time, because they told him, hey, sound like you're being fair, right? Tremendous amounts of time. The Republicans just said they're going to vote on Monday. Is 3 days tremendous, 4 days tremendous amounts of time? But he has to add tremendous in front of everything. But of course, the core point is not my God, she might have gone through this, even if it wasn't Kavanaugh, and I feel terrible for her, and we hope she's okay. That doesn't even occur to him. He just constantly looks at it from the point of view of the accused, shoes he's stood in plenty of times before, for good reason. So he's always like, oh my God, it's so unfair to him. It's so unfair to him. And he said it about Porter, he said it about himself, he said it about almost every man who's been accused of committing some sort of transgression towards a woman. And almost never in any of those instances did he ever once say, oh, I feel terrible for her.
No, of course not, of course not. But I will give him, I guess, some credit for somehow managing to avoid attacking her specifically, right?
Yeah.
Because he can't control himself. Like, I feel like he's gonna blow in any moment. Like,
yeah, that was the most amount of self-control I have ever seen him exercise.
It's kind of amazing.
And by the way, was that a good statement? Not remotely.
Not
it was a
even close.
clownish, ridiculous statement, but that's as good as it gets with Donald Trump. But the whole time as I was looking at him, to me, it screamed bully.
There's parts of his statement really fast that maybe gives more credence to her not doing it. Because I was thinking too, let's hear from her. That's the first thought, because we at least want to see what the real story is. And he keeps saying, when he talked about not doing anything with the FBI, I trust the Congress to do what they're gonna do. They're gonna get to the bottom of this. They're gonna work it out. I trust them to do it. I wanna hear her. The plan is to, I mean, we've seen it before. We know the playbook. It's to attack her character, find anything you can about her, and that will be the litany of the things they will come after with. Who are you? What did you do this time? There's one time you were 16. What about that time you were 17? And then the time you were 21. And what about then? And the whole time it'll be taking her down with no background to what really happened. That's the plan. And he's like, I can't wait to see her show up so we can go after her. That is the plan, and that's what they're setting up for. He trusts them to do the takedown.
So yeah, Jared, it's a really good point, and it backs up what Anna was saying earlier.
So it's a really good point.
So one more strike against testifying is, what if they're planning an ambush? And it's not like it's not possible. And
what do you mean, what if?
No.
Are you crazy?
No, look, that ambush could turn into a disaster for themselves if they're perceived as attacking this respected doctor who is coming forward under this traumatic situation, et cetera. But if they start getting into, oh yeah, but at the age of 21, did you this? At the age of 37, 100%. Did you do that? Right, and then without any advanced knowledge, she has to defend her whole life while the entire nation is watching. That's a hell of a spot to be in.
And remember, this is a hearing where they're testifying about these allegations. You're not gonna have the lawyer get involved and be like, what do they say again? Like,
objection, Your Honor.
Objection,
Okay.
There we go.
I'm not out of order, you're out of order.
Order in the court, order in the court. There's none of that, right? So it's even more difficult than a criminal case involving allegations.
Because the whole nation is judging it.
Exactly.
Yeah, look, it's a very, very tough spot. I really hope the country hears her point of view, but I understand the significant downsides of that. 2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below. Then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.